Hi, I'm Josh Harris, Associate State Director of Advocacy and Outreach with AARP Illinois. Welcome to the 2021 Gallery Gishard Virtual Trolley Tour. AARP Illinois is proud to sponsor the Virtual Trolley Tour as a celebration of Bronzeville's vibrant community. Gallery Gishard and its partner galleries are essential to preserving the cultural heritage of Bronzeville. We'd like to take a minute to remind all Illinoisans that AARP Illinois fights every day to advocate for affordable housing, affordable health care, community safety, and community development. Just this past year, we launched our multi-year Disrupt Disparities initiative, which focuses on advocating for laws to bring about necessary change to older adults of color all across the state. Already in 2021, we're proud to report legislative wins that expand retirement access to more than 1 million more Illinois residents, expanding telehealth options, which we know were so critical during the COVID-19 pandemic, expanding property tax relief for older adult homeowners, and creating more diversity on the Illinois Broadband Advisory Council. By continuing to support communities in this way, AARP wants to ensure that residents can age in place in multi-generational communities where their history can be celebrated. To learn more about AARP, visit aarp.org/il. Enjoy the show.
Welcome. My name is Gishard. Welcome to Gallery Gishard virtually. And this is Virtual Exhibition Catalog number 16. And tonight we are introducing a new format where the artists in our new exhibition, instead of talking to you through Zoom, are here live, and we're going to have candid conversations about their work, the mediums they use, the artwork in the show, and just some open conversation about how they feel about a variety of topics. And here today is my partner in crime, my business partner and wife, Frances Gishard, aka Marlene Campbell.
Hi, I'm Frances Gishard, also known as the artist Marlene Campbell, artist, collector, curator, and co-owner of Gallery Gishard. And it is exciting to be here today. And we're taking a different approach because we are all vaccinated and we are all able to sit together and have a conversation. And it's been a long time, before artists could come out and then connect and collaborate with us face to face. And it feels great. So we're hoping that you're going to enjoy this exhibition tonight and our conversation and have as much fun as we are. Thank you for coming out.
Our Black is Beautiful speaks to the multifaceted nature of the many artists and many fingerprints that our community and gallery have to offer. And this exhibition is a great example of that. And now we get to dive into who are the artists behind the name on the title card. And first and foremost, to our very left, is our friend and resident artist of the Bronzeville Artist Lofts, Alpha Bruton. We have a long history, but even a richer history the 7 years we've been here. So we're very happy to have you today. If you could tell us about the mediums you're working in and the work that you have in this show, as well as anything else you want us to know about who you are as an artist.
Thank you, Andre, for that introduction. And I'm really glad to be here tonight and be a part of this fantastic exhibition. The last couple of days I've walked past and I'm like, I have to do a new work just for this piece to kind of keep up with the energy that's in the room. So the piece that I put in the exhibit is part of the vibrational sound narrative series that I'm starting to collage. I have over 200 small studies that are done with acrylic glaze. And so I'm taking them out of the suitcase now, and I'm starting to collage them on board, and then put gold leaf and then other objects in the pieces. So that was my motivation today, because I did that work just for this exhibition, and it's called Vibrational Sound Narrative Collage. And I put two other pieces in that were older parts of my vibrational series that are spiritual pieces. They also are in the exhibit. And Andre asked the question about why it's important for me to be part of an African American centered and focused gallery. And it's because that's who I am. It's important that I connect with our audience. And as far as I'm concerned, there's a diverse group of artists and patrons that come through the gallery that experience our work. And if it's abstract, you know, the way we do the work, from a Black perspective, there is, you know, should I say that there's no perspective behind the work because it's cross-cultural, you know, and the collectors are cross-cultural you know, that our work speaks to. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alpha. And you know, I have to say, Our Black is Beautiful is really, when you really start peeling back the onion of who these artists are as people and expressive creators. So I think that's the genius of a show like this, where in a dialogue like this, where we get to talk about it and people get to know who we are. And which brings me to our next guest, and I'll let Frances do the drum roll introduction. Dee Lammy, because
Dee Lammy is an amazing artist, and everybody just loves to see her do her metal point. So without further ado, I'll let Dee Lammy tell you about her.
Hello, my name is Dee Lammy Hansen, and I am considered a contemporary metal point artist. I do, in this show, I can definitely say I am using old and new technology, which is my painting with metal point. It's drawing with metal wires, and it could be gold, it could be silver, it could be brass, it could be copper. But I'm interchanging them with the painting, so I'm calling it more fusion. And what the series that they're having in the show itself is part of my Dynamic Spirit series. And the piece that I definitely did for this particular show is called Soul Embrace. And it is the first series that actually features a man in my Dynamic series. And it shows the power of his movements. And his movements are actually letting you know that he is embracing and self-accepting himself and self-loving himself as a Black man. Me being part of Gallery Gishard is really important for me because of the fact that they actually were the first gallery that saw how much work I put into the work, and they appreciated it. And that made me appreciate them because I cared more about doing something that's of quality, that represented people of color, that actually was not in that medium. This particular medium, the metal point, we call it silver point, copper point, or whatever, brass point. It's not, you don't see a lot of Black people doing it, and you don't see a lot of Black people in it, or people of color in it. So what I'm trying to do is bring this medium up to now to show the beauty of people of color shining and being beautiful and being excellent just the way they are.
amazing. And you know, there's a really wonderful history with Dee Lammy, and I love her humility, but we met her as one of the best out of 6,000 submissions around the country in a program that we worked as international curators, and Dee Lammy was the New Orleans winner. We stayed in contact, and she's now a Chicagoan, but originally from New York. So we are so happy to have her in the fold, but more so, again, speaking to that multifacetedness of how everyone's fingerprint of how they see things, how they believe they can create just because God gave you a gift that makes people feel good when they wake up and live with the work that you do, which I think is a phenomenal blessing. And to have you as creators and a chance to sit in a room with you and listen to how you think, we take it for granted, but many people don't have this opportunity. So I'm happy we're able to share this. So next, we are really blessed to have a wonderful, phenomenal, I would say, what is the word when you can adjust to any environment? Like chameleon. A true chameleon, because Frances Gishard, aka Marlene Campbell, not only is an amazing artist, but is an amazing gallerist, salesperson, art administrator, but wasn't from the art. So to come into a space that's very competitive, very cutthroat in some cases, but also to come in it gracefully, we were really happy to have you in the gallery, and I'm really happy to work with you.
Thank you. 17 years and, counting. I think it's about passion. When you really love something, it's not work, it's joy. And I love art. I love creating. I create from the heart, and I also create from the spirit. I believe that my gift is God-given, and it resonates with people. And I love the stories that people tell me about my work that, make them feel really good. And I work with sand and acrylic. I use my medium to create stories. And this body of work that I have now is about the future. Looking at our young people, understanding who they are and the potential they have. And these are people who one day will rule and make the world a better place. And we're so very proud of them. And I created it so I have, the blue skies and the clouds with the sun and people and the mentors that are there to guide them so that we do have a bright future. And we want to make sure that it resonates every time somebody sees my painting by passing those stories down. And so that's how I kind of look at the way I work. It's all about connecting with the story, connecting with the work, the colors, the energy, and then helping people to feel good. It's about wellness. Very proud to be an artist, a gallerist, a wife, and all of the things that come with life. Amazing.
Excellent. And I'm also honored to be able to sit in this chair amongst these great artists who I admire their work individually and equally. And part of that admiration is because, I think I heard Alpha in a conversation we've had before where you talk about how, everything else that's around you as it relates to who you are as an artist or an art professional or administrator is just so you can get to create. So I, like you, have that same, of all the fanfare and the platforms that we create, because really our mission is really simple in that we are here to create platforms for not just ourselves, we could be a vanity gallery, but for many artists, so that they can connect with people, and this gift of art can take you around the world, and that has been our journey. So for me, Our Black is Beautiful in this series represents still being able to create as an artist after 16 years as a gallerist, because the challenges of continuing to keep all the balls in the air, to keep the gallery going, and then that other side of your brain that allows you to get a lot of that out, that builds up from the day-to-day stress, is what this work represents. So there's an underlying base color of black, and it's a new medium I'm excited about because it absorbs 99% of light. And if you think of who we are as the original people from Ethiopia, who all races are from us. So that same 99.9% of light that's being absorbed, our DNA is that equivalent. So this work speaks to two things. One is the power of our mind, and even though when we think of black art, I think non-objective abstract gives us the opportunity to really delve into just how amazing our minds are and our brains are and the power of it. So Portal 1 and 2 are non-abject expressions about movement, and it's movement to any place you want to believe you can be, and that's where it begins. So this is an inspirational type of work. It's about energy and taking yourself mentally to where you think. So there was a song growing up, Act Like You Know. There was a house song, Act Like You Know. And it was all about, before you achieve any goal, you have to believe you're already there. And then people start to believe it. So that portal is about that split second that it takes you to believe in your mind that you're already something that you may not be yet. And then the last part is the jazz series, which Jazzy Nights speaks to how jazz now has a very contemporary look and feel because it continues to morph, even if it's part of rap or hip hop. And then that's what this speaks to, because that's also who we are. We are the chameleons. Whether it's in art, hip hop, we lead everything that we do. So this work speaks to that as well. I'm happy to be here today. And next to my right is another amazing artist that I admire and appreciate to have the privilege to be here speaking with someone who you would think is in her mid-50s, but I'm not going to talk about any ages here. But Pearlie Taylor has the energy and spunk of the young person, and I know her art is driving a lot of it. So without further ado, Pearlie Taylor.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me here, Andre. It's always a pleasure. I'm an abstract artist, and I want to say I'm a purist because I don't paint anything that comes close to resembling a tree or a person or a plant or anything. But before I was an abstract artist, I was just an artist. From almost day one, I drew and painted on everything. And the work changed over the years. But what I really need to say is this. As a Black person painting abstract, I've had many people ask me why abstract? And what is it? You know, why do I paint that? There are no people in my art. And it's kind of like if you're Black, you have to paint Black people all the time. And I started from that because I was very realistic in my paintings early on. And my work changed. And I don't make any apologies for it because I'm Black as any other artist that Black paint people, and of course you can clearly see that. But however, I didn't make a choice to become abstract. It just happened. And it happened under some circumstances that I really can't complain. And it changed everything about the way I painted, the way I thought about art, and so forth. I like painting big. And I think because I'm a little person, I need a lot of space. So I normally find the largest canvas that I can paint, that I can carry in my car. And I will paint on it and do whatever it is that the paint calls for. But the paint controls the way I paint. I will let the first bit of paint determine where I'm going to go. And the next little bit will tell me what to do next. And I just continue to watch and see what the paint tells me to do rather than me instructing the paint. I normally paint in acrylics. I use a lot of water, very wet. I seldom paint with brushes. I will paint with almost anything, a mop, a broom. I use sticks. I use forks. I use anything that's laying around because that's just the way I paint. Everything can make a mark. Everything can be an instrument to use. Now, the last piece that I presented here to the gallery, I watched it form like I normally do with all the paintings. And I tend to let the painting tell me the title. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But this last piece, after the paint set, and I looked at it for a while, and it resembled a woman, a female. And I thought it was a pregnant female, but I said, but it couldn't be that because I wasn't trying to do that. And the title for this piece came about because I have strong feelings about one thing in particular, and that is women's bodies being legislated. Women are people. We are not vessels. We have choices. And this piece made me think about that because that's going to be a problem coming down the pipe. I like this piece a lot, and the name was just like right there waiting for me. My body, my choice. And I just went on and finished it up, brought it down to Gishard, and as always, he took it in like one of my babies, and here we are.
Thank you,
Yes.
Pearlie.
Thank you. Your work is amazing, Pearlie, and I love the story around how you create. As we move on, the next artist is Adam Gishard. I'm from a very talented family, and you know, Andre's not the only talent. He has a younger brother who's also a very talented artist. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to Adam Gishard.
Well, hello, everyone. I know by now you like, can you just make this short but sweet? And what I will do is promise you that. My name is Adam Gishard. By training, you know, on the outside end, I'm a biology major, chemistry minor from Howard University. You would never think someone like me would ever become an artist. After I graduated from Howard, I gained an interest for painting. I come from a family of artists. You already have heard from my brother. My father was an artist. I had another cousin who was an artist also by the name of William Dawson. And when I first started painting, my style mimicked their styles. But something you'll learn about being an artist, you do what is most comfortable for you. So just my style of painting has become an evolution. And over the past 20 years, I created 9 different art styles. Currently in this exhibit, I'm showing one of my kaleidoscope artworks, and that style in itself talks all about evolution. And just being an artist, you constantly have to come up with new imagery, new thoughts, new ideas. So this painting that I have in this show talks about it's an ever-evolving artwork or ever-evolving thought on canvas. And for this series, I use wood, glass, whatever I can get my hands on. Similar to Pearlie, I like to make large pictures, so it's literally the largest things I paint or canvas I could put my hands on. And for the Kaleidoscope series, just like the name in itself, it's a very colorful artwork. I love working with Black art galleries, not just because this is my brother's art gallery, but over the past 30 years, there have been numerous African American art galleries that have closed. And just like anything else that's important to the Black community, whether it be a HBCU, historic theater, now I'm talking about art galleries. They're closing. So if anything, please not only support me, but support everyone who's in this art show today, because one thing I can tell you, and that we'll all be in agreement with, or a point that we'll be in agreement with, is we put our blood, sweat, and tears into our artwork, even though we may express a point in a different way. One thing I can say is all of our work is very powerful, and we hope that one day it can inspire and touch your life for the better.
So Our Black is Beautiful really speaks to the African diaspora, and today here, our gallery's representation for this exhibit also speaks to the norm of the gallery, where we are African people who have migrated from the continent to where we are, and whether that's from California, New York, Chicago, and Nigeria. And Nigeria is the location of our most recent artist to join us today in our discussion. And this is one of our rising stars, Stephen Olakin.
My name is Stephen Olakin. I'm from Nigeria. be honest, this show is actually my story because they give me the privilege as an immigrant from Nigeria to America. They give me the privilege to be able to establish myself in the art world. And when I say this is my story, because art in Africa is different. When I came here, I was working with realism. Then when I got here, I said that the market is different from what we have in Nigeria. So then through the mentorship of Mr. Olakin and my boss here, Andre and Francis, I can see some changes and some growth in what I do. And it's just, it's a way of encouraging black artists. They've worked so hard in encouraging black artists to develop their talents. And for people like me that come from all the way from Africa, from Nigeria, it has been a smooth journey for me. Meeting them and then working with them.
So now that we've introduced everyone and put a name with a face, and I just love this because, we're real people and, normal people in the real world, but maybe Francis, you can open up a question or two to just something that is on the top of your mind.
Well, with the theme, Our Black is Beautiful, because we are beautiful. We all are different, and we're not monolithic. We all have our own energy and feelings, and we paint differently. So with that, how do you look at the theme, Our Black is Beautiful? How does it make you feel, and how does it help you identify the work that you create?
No.
That's really, like, I don't want to use that phrase as a deep, question, but in reality, it is, because I didn't look at it that way, and then when I put art in, I don't think about the theme, and then when I give you tell me what the theme is, and then it's like my work moves right in and fits right in. With the exhibit. But I just feel like when you talk about Black is Beautiful, I do have this background in Afrocentric and teaching African dance and African theater. Like in my early years growing up in California, there was a lot of acculturation, of culture and fabrics coming into the country, and then then we're assimilating and being our African selves. And so a lot of my work was influenced that way, and being very proud. I'm a person of the 60s, that Panther movement, that happened when we all were embracing ourselves as being, Black and proud. And I did that in my early, years, in like junior high years, and really embracing. And I remember when my family said, I remember when you turned African, right? Because I embraced it fully, and then I taught that, for years, and I taught dance and I taught movement. So in my artwork, fast forward to now in the 2000s, that translates in my work, everything that I've learned from the past, and it didn't have to be representational. I'm trying to keep the rhythm and the movement and what makes us beautiful and what makes people try to mimic, our movement and the way we are and the colors we select. And when we walk out the house, we're all like, we're a parade of colors. Sometimes when we, tonight we're all artists and we're all Black and conservative, but usually when we choose color, all of us, we come out and we're just vibrant, people. You go to the marketplace, it's vibrancy. So I pick a lot of that out of, and that translates into the art and the colors and the choices that I make in the art I produce, especially for this exhibit.
That's cool. I like how she said, being an artist from the 60s, because that theme actually came out of like the 60s, 70s, when people were trying to identify with themselves, because we had to feel good about ourselves, and we still need to make sure everybody feels good about themselves.
Well, when I first started just appreciating life in itself, I was born and raised in Harlem, and half of my family was Jamaican, and that part took over the first part of my life. So when it came to the way you saw yourself, you just only cared about being excellent about whatever you did. Being Black was just a given, okay? So it wasn't until I got older, because the work that I was creating when I was younger was I would use very ethnic looking people, but I would paint them all blue or all one color, very chrome. And then if a white person, if I wasn't standing next to it, nobody would know it was a Black person that did it. I didn't really know this until I went to the South, when I started, and kind of went down for family. And when a friend of mine who was white stood next to my artwork, everybody thought it was one way. The moment I stood next to my artwork, all of a sudden it's Black art. It's the weirdest thing to see if that's not your true sensibility. And so the one thing that really made me start totally concentrating on making beautiful Black imagery was that when I was in New Orleans, they still have that dark skin, light skin, Creole, this, that, and the other, still unconsciously. And so there were people who, as like doctorates, that still, very dark skin, that still did not have the power of love, of self. And it bothered me. And so I started creating artwork that reflected them, because I needed them to know that you're thinking the wrong things about yourself. And I really need you to know that, look in that mirror, you're gorgeous. I don't care if you're brilliant as you are, you're equally as gorgeous. And so doing that brown paper bag thing that I did, as well as, doing the artwork that I'm doing, I'm trying to embrace the fact that people have a tendency of listening to all the things that were told about them that may not be true. They're not listening, they're not loving themselves because somebody else told them they weren't lovable. And I'm trying to help reverse that dialogue, that inner dialogue. So that's why I create the way I do, especially with the middle point. I want them to show how precious they are, as precious as that middle.
That's awesome.
Well, I'll jump butt Francis, because I know we were singing about, but I'm being silly. But really, when I think about my work, one of the series that's represented today is one of my oldest series, and it's my jazz series, and part of it is pride. And when I think about my work and our Blackness, I think part of knowing who you are is understanding where you come from. And the more I learned who my grandfather was, Alfred Gishard Sr., a famous jazz musician in New Orleans in the early 30s, played live for the radio, and recently finding the house where my grandfather was born in, and just walking in those steps, it gave me a sense of added confidence. But before that, knowing his heritage as a jazz musician who was then invited by Eddie Randall and the Blue Devils, this famous St. Louis band that would later start Miles Davis' career, was the same band that recruited my grandfather, helped me with balancing, the want and the desire to find and position yourself with your passion. And I think that's part of the freedom of being an artist. And what this art does is you can pay homage to your ancestors. I can pay homage to my grandfather. I can continue to express the passion of this culture that is African culture, that has transformed and morphed itself into jazz, that from the 30s to the 2020s, it's still migrating itself into jazzy nights, a contemporary variation that still gives all that energy and that improvisation that made people feel good 100 years ago is still happening. And that's just that African migration. So I couple in that with the other non-objective series speaks to just our power. And I really think that the more we understand who we are as the original African people, there's infinite power in knowing the greatness of what we created 7,000 plus years of being in power, when we get a chance to visit Egypt and look at those dynasties and the greatness of the creation of all math, science, art, everything. And that series speaks to the power of our minds, historically and now, and believing that we have that power now. And lastly, there's a series or a painting that's a self-portrait of my son, and it was the first collaboration between myself and Miles Andre Gishard, my son, who before this piece had never done art that he willingly wanted to do. So he had told me about an image with some color behind it that he took, that he wanted to do some art around it. And I was like, well, when you come to Chicago this summer, we're gonna do it. And that energy behind that subject really speaks to the creativity that he has innately. And I also say, as an artist, I find that we're our most creative when we can get back to that space when we were like 13 or 8 or 9 or whatever that plum or soft spot was for you as a young person. When you connect to that freedom, you connect to endless creativity as an artist. So I think that's my connection to Blackness, Africa, and kind of who I am as an artist.
What do you guys think?
Well, I can say this. I never really thought of myself as an artist because I was always drawing on something and doing things when I was a kid. And my household was full of people who could draw. So it was really no big deal. And I didn't know that there were people outside of our house who could not. I never really even thought of myself as a Black artist. Black is just who I am. The artistry thing was always there. And to me, the thing about being an abstract artist, I think that harkens back to a time when Black folks had to communicate in different ways. And many times they spoke in the abstract because they wanted to communicate a message without the people in power knowing what they were saying. So they did things like songs, spoken different strange ways, and all of that was in an abstract manner because it wasn't necessarily the norm, the way people should speak using the proper words for things. It was kind of like a code, and they used that and everybody knew what the other person was saying. So to me, that was kind of an abstract way of communicating. And I think all Black people have been able to do that over time since we're all creative people anyway. So that's really, and as me personally, I don't see any other, I didn't know there was anything else for me to be but an artist, because no matter what I did before or what I was doing at the time, the art was always there. So, and it being a Black person was, it didn't, that was not something that I thought about.
Awesome, Pearlie. I agree. And I'll just say, from my perspective, I feel like I'm an artist, but I also feel responsibility as an artist who is of color to make sure it's known, because so few artists of color have had opportunities. And I'm very blessed to be here, and I want to encourage other young people to feel as though those opportunities are there for them as well. My work is for everybody. It can be
Absolutely.
for anyone, exactly. And I think, you want people to resonate with the stories and be able to share those stories, and it's a positive story about who we are as people of color, and just being proud of, who we are and our history, as Andre talked about, going back 7,000 plus years, and just knowing who we are in the diaspora. So I think, it's a really cool theme. Our Black is beautiful. And I think I'd like to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, I think just to bring light about what's occurring today and to let people know that we should still protest, but more importantly, we got to get elected so we truly can have more power. But that's just my stance on the position.
Interesting. Shayo?
Yeah, actually, I held this series of work that the black and white series. So, the recent one I did, I titled one "I Love It Black," and then I titled one "Red Rose." Red Rose. I think the work is just to create an awareness for black people, not just Africa, but just people of black colors. Because right now I'm going to use Nigeria because I know Nigeria better than any other African country. So I'm going to use Nigeria as a case study here. So like in Nigeria now, I think Nigeria is like the second most consumers of bleaching cream in the world. Yeah, because of everybody, most especially the youth now, they have this mentality of wanting to be like the Western. Like the Westerners. They want to look like a white man. So everybody's trying to bleach their skin just to look white because they think it is more attractive. It is more. It looks more beautiful. But the thing is, the more you bleach your skin, if there is the danger of bleaching is too much, the side effect is there. And then if there is an accident or there's a cut to the skin and you want to stitch the skin together, then that's going to be difficult because your skin is not soft and it's not going to hold well. So So I create this body of work to create awareness for the youth, for the coming generation, that your skin, you have to be very comfortable in your skin. Being black is you don't let somebody else to decide who you want to be. Like, oh, this is the person I want you to be. This is the person I want you to act like. You have to be yourself. You have to be comfortable in your own skin. And then there's nothing. It's too late to be white. There's nothing wrong in being black. Black is beautiful. Like, I don't,
amazing.
I don't know, but it's just the way everybody wants to like. If you don't speak good English, everybody will look at you like, oh, you're not educated. Like you don't know what you're doing. Like you didn't go to school. But you have your language. Why are you not proud of your language? Why are you not proud of your language? Why are you not proud of but everybody just wants to be Western, like everybody wants to be white. And that's the problem we are having in Africa in general. So this body of work is just to create an awareness, to let people understand the beauty of being black and to appreciate themselves, to love themselves the way they are. There is more to being black than just the color. Our culture, our traditions, our language, the way we dress, it's different. We can't be somebody else. So, and I hope my work can push create that awareness.
That's excellent.
And I think that's the beauty of what artists do also. Do you all feel it's your duty to document our times that we live in also?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not only document your times, but history in itself is a series of different perspectives. So I just see art as me putting my own perspective in it and my own little take at the time.
Just like a writer.
Right.
It's still through the lens of how they write, which I think is also very, very important and very significant. And which brings me to a close as to with everything that's happening in the world, how is it that you and everyone can speak to this, how you still put out things that still evoke beauty when what you are sometimes consuming or taking in isn't beautiful. So a lot of times people are like, wow, it's so beautiful, but it's such a tragic time. How is it, do you think, that artists are able to create an end product during a traumatic time that will be uplifting?
We did that, we did that with Color Print and also Existence when we were still in the pandemic, and it was all women's exhibition, and we were able to paint just that, what was happening during that time. And I think it's about art and social, and there was a lot of social unrest, and we painted a lot of art and social justice, but it was in our own stylized work. You know what I mean? I don't think that we're, I know that I do a lot of different mediums because, you know, I learned a lot of different mediums going to school with the emphasis in studio art and art education, and so I'm teaching different mediums. So I do go through different phases of different types of work and medium, and I just think that I have a series on art and social justice so that I could just speak to that. I was driven more to I'm driven anyway to paint, but even the downtime, and we were sheltered in place. I love my place. You know, I love being in the studio, and it was okay for me to take a pause, and then, you know, because we can always reset when we leave out of our studios. But it was a time where we could really reflect on what was happening in the climate of change while we were sheltered in place in our places. And when there was the protests that were happening, just last summer, you know what I mean? And we came through that, and a lot of that was in our art. You know, I don't paint super protests, but I paint things that are still, like a frame of that time, you know, and I'm not writing your face with the social justice, but you get the social justice out of the work in that particular series.
So we're not documentarians necessarily. They're perspectives of a time and space, which I think that's how beauty can still come out of any time and space.
And then reacting to the theme that, you know, like when Gishard curators say, we're gonna do this theme, right? And then give the synopsis of this theme, and then we go to our studios and then we create work on that theme, you know, and create the body work. I don't have a body work that's sitting there to bring down, oh, you said black is beautiful, I have this. I create the work to go with the theme, and it's like almost like solving this problem that's been given to me, you know, and taking it in my mind and really thinking it through what I want to present. Your work is beautiful.
Well, all of this and more you can find in Virtual Exhibition Catalog number 16, where it's easy as 1, 2, 3. This amazing exhibition that you see around you and behind me, you can drop in 24 hours, 7 days a week, and follow the circles on the floor, and you can touch the matter tags to get title, medium, and price. This is an amazing show, and it just speaks volumes. So I want to
you can
thank
find that on www.gallerygishard.com.
That's right. And I want to thank all of our artists here today and all the artists that aren't present, that your creativity is feeding so many, and we thank you for touching us and touching the world with your creativity. And to our collectors, thank you for our support. And
I also want to say you will be able to see the work of Akin Isiaka also on our virtual exhibition number 15.
That's right, Virtual Exhibition Catalog number 16.
16, I'm so sorry.
And this again is partly responsible because of the generous donation by AARP a year and a half ago when we were all confronted with COVID. They had the foresight to understand that staying connected could mean a lot to not only their community, but our community at large. And this virtual exhibition catalog has not only changed our lives, but we're happy to announce the Metropolitan Museum of Art is also archiving all of these catalogs in their archives, and they are the largest archiver of contemporary catalogs in the world. So I'm so honored that our artists and all of you who've been collecting through your activism, these artists' works will be documented and our collections will continue to appreciate. So thank you.
Love art, see art, love art, buy art, and know that we have a great payment plan.
That's right. Until next time, the Bronzeville Art District appreciates you, and go Bronzeville.
Go Bronzeville.
Go Bronzeville.
Go Brownsville.